opening the Thunder Warden Zeus. Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we wander into a story carried by the winds and etched into the heartbeat of the sky. This is the tale of the Thunder Warden, Zeus. Long ago, before clocks measured time, the world listened to the voice of nature. Mountains breathed with mist. Forests spoke in rustling tones. The sea sang in endless waves. Yet, above all, the sky held the deepest mystery. Within its storms lived a guardian, a presence felt, but rarely seen. They say thunder's hum is not fear, but balance. They say lightning is not anger, but light painted across the night. And when the rain fades, silence carries a promise. The skies are never alone. So let us step into the clouds, where whispers guide us. Let us meet the one they called Zeus. Part 1. The Whisper of the Sky. The night is quiet. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that feels alive. If you listen closely, you can hear it breathing. The trees sway gently, their branches whispering secrets to one another. The wind moves in soft circles, playful, carrying scents of earth and rain. And above it all, high in the vastness, the sky waits. It is not silent, not really. Every sky has a language of its own. It hums when the stars appear. It sighs when the clouds drift slowly across the moon. And sometimes, it whispers. That whisper is where our story begins. For in the age before men built cities, the world itself was the teacher. Mountains taught patience. Rivers taught movement. The forest taught listening. And the sky taught wonder. On a night like this, long ago, a boy looked up. His eyes glowed faintly, as if reflecting more than starlight. His laughter carried the soft rumble of a distant storm. And when he cried, clouds gathered as though to comfort him. The villagers whispered about him, though not in fear. They spoke in awe. "The child is marked by the heavens," they said. Some believed he was a gift. Others believed he was a reminder. But none doubted he was different. The boy's name was Zeus. From his earliest days, Zeus felt the sky watching him. The clouds leaned lower when he played. The winds wrapped around him like friendly companions. Birds circled overhead, not out of hunger, but curiosity. And thunder followed him, gentle and distant, like a guardian. At first, Zeus thought this was how the world treated everyone. But as he grew, he realized he alone carried this bond. When others chased butterflies, Zeus stirred the air beneath his feet. When he sang, the clouds echoed his melody. When he slept, lightning danced on the horizon. The sky was speaking, and he was the one meant to hear it. But what did it say? The whispers came in stillness before rain, in a breeze, in the hush of stars. It was not words, but feeling, a rhythm, a calling. One evening, Zeus sat by a stream. The air was heavy with waiting. Above him, clouds swirled, glowing faintly with hidden light. And then he heard it, a whisper, soft as a sigh. It said, "You are not alone. You are chosen." Zeus felt his heart beat in time with the sky. He looked around, but no one else had heard. Only he carried the voice of the sky. From that day, he kept it secret. He did not boast. He did not try to prove himself. He simply listened. Listening became his gift. He could sense when storms carried blessing. He could hear the songs in the winds. He could see purpose in the strike of lightning. The people began to notice. They saw how calm Zeus remained when thunder shook the ground. They saw birds settle near him, dogs grow quiet at his side. And they, too, began to listen. Through Zeus, the sky spoke to them as well. Storms brought water to the soil. Thunder cleansed the air. Lightning brightened the night. Zeus was still a boy, but already the world had revealed his place. He was a listener, a child of light, and the sky was his first teacher. This was only the beginning. The whisper would grow louder, the bond would grow stronger, and one day he would understand why the heavens had chosen him. But for now, it was enough to sit beneath the stars, to feel the hum of the clouds, and to know, deep in his heart, that he was never alone. Part 2. A child of light. Morning came softly. The first rays of dawn slipped across the mountains, painting the fields in gold. Birdsong filled the air, and the world felt new once again. Life in the village began with simple rhythms. Fires were lit, bread was baked, and animals stirred awake. Yet even in ordinary mornings, Zeus carried something extraordinary. The boy's presence seemed to brighten the day, not because of the sun, but because of the light within him. His eyes shimmered with an energy that never faded. When he laughed, thunder rolled gently beneath his voice, not frightening, but soft, distant, reassuring, like a reminder that the skies were listening too. The villagers noticed. When Zeus walked by, their burdens felt lighter. When he helped in the fields, the soil seemed stronger, the air cooler, the crops more alive. Children followed him with wide-eyed wonder. They chased shadows, played in the fields, and dreamed of touching the clouds. But when Zeus laughed, they paused, listening to the strange music in his voice. Elders whispered as they sat by the fire. "He is touched by the heavens," they said. "Perhaps the sky has sent him to guide us." None could explain, but none denied it. Zeus himself did not yet understand. To him, the world was alive, and he was simply part of its song. When he ran, the grass seemed to pulse beneath his feet. When he climbed the hills, the wind wrapped him like a friend. But what truly marked him was the light. At night, when others slept, a faint glow lingered around him. Not firelight, not moonlight, something gentler, like starlight that refused to leave. One night, lying beneath the sky, Zeus reached out his hand. The stars flickered in response. The clouds shifted as if to watch. And he whispered, "I can feel you." The answer came not in words, but in light. A silver streak flashed far away, soft and beautiful. Not a storm, but a message. A nod from the sky. Zeus smiled. The bond was not of power, but companionship. The sky was alive, awake, aware, and it had chosen him to be its friend. Seasons passed, and Zeus grew. His light became stronger, his presence deeper. Wherever he went, people felt comfort, as though the air itself was calmer. In drought, when soil cracked, Zeus lifted his gaze. Soon after, clouds gathered, and rain returned. The people called it a miracle, but Zeus knew it was simply the sky listening. In storms, when thunder shook the mountains, children hid in fear. Yet when Zeus stepped outside, smiling, the thunder softened. Lightning painted the sky instead of striking the earth. The people began to call him the Child of Light. It was not a title of power, but of affection. To them, he was proof the heavens cared. Zeus accepted it quietly. He did not boast or claim greatness. He only listened. He only carried the bond that was his alone. At times, he wondered why. Why him, and not another? Why the whispers, the thunder, the light? The sky never answered directly. It only reminded him he was not alone. One evening, as the sun set in red and gold, Zeus stood on a hilltop. The village glowed below. The clouds above turned silver, and he felt the truth. He was a bridge between earth and sky. Not yet a warden, not yet a guardian, but chosen. As the first stars awoke, Zeus whispered a promise. "If you watch over me, I will watch over them." The wind carried his words upward. The sky rumbled softly in reply. And so the Child of Light grew, step by step, into his destiny. Part 3. The Calling of the Clouds. The seasons turned, and Zeus grew taller. His steps were steady, his eyes bright. But no matter how he changed, the sky never left him. Every day, it called in different ways. In laughter, when clouds chased each other across the horizon. In silence, when the air felt heavy, waiting. In whispers, only he could hear. Zeus noticed what no one else did. The sudden shift of wind spoke of distant storms. Low clouds meant rain would greet them by morning. A pulsing light at night stirred his chest like a heartbeat. The clouds were speaking his language, not in words, but in feelings, in rhythm, in the quiet music carried by the air. The villagers trusted him. When he promised kind rains, they planted with hope. When he warned of long winds, they stored their grain. He was still young, yet his words carried truth. One day, watching goats on the hillside, he looked up. The clouds above moved strangely, not drifting, but circling, as though guarding a secret. The sky darkened. Though no storm came, silence spread, like the world was holding its breath. And in that silence, the whisper returned. No words, only presence. A pull that made his heart lean forward to listen. The clouds weren't just moving, they were waiting, inviting him. Zeus reached out a hand. The air thickened, wrapping him in invisible threads. His skin tingled, and light flickered at his fingertips. Not fire, not lightning, but living energy, gentle and alive. It hummed with the rhythm of the sky. Zeus gasped, pulling back in awe, but the clouds leaned closer, like smiling friends. "Do not fear. This belongs to you," they seemed to say. He tried again, more certain this time. The glow remained, dancing like sparks in his palm. It leapt, swirled, then faded into the air. Zeus laughed, not with pride but recognition. The sky was not just speaking, it was calling him forward. Back in the village, he kept this secret. He was still one of them, still their child. Yet in quiet, he practiced. On hilltops, with arms lifted, he listened. Sometimes the air moved around him in waves. Sometimes the clouds gathered, leaning closer. Once he saw a path of light reaching skyward. Not a road, not a staircase, but a bridge, unseen yet real. A bond between himself and the heavens. The calling grew stronger each season. Zeus understood he was not meant to command. He was meant to walk with the clouds, not control the storm, but carry its meaning. To listen and to answer. At night, when others slept, he gazed upward. The whisper always returned. "Come closer. Learn. Become." He felt no fear. The clouds were not strangers. They were companions. They had been with him since the first thunder laugh, since the glow that followed him in the dark. Now, they called him forward, toward something greater than childhood, toward destiny. The calling of the clouds had begun, and Zeus, child of light, was ready to listen. Part 4. The Mountain of Echoes. The calling grew louder with each season. The clouds no longer whispered, they guided. One evening, while the village celebrated, the air stirred around Zeus. Winds curled like unseen hands, pointing to the mountains. The clouds gathered, not dark, but purposeful. Zeus understood. It was an invitation to follow. Before dawn, he set out alone. No bundle, no food, only a staff and trust in the sky. The path rose steep and misty. Stones shifted underfoot, but the clouds never left his sight. By midday, he reached the mountain's foot. Hinds sang as wind moved through their branches. The people called it the Mountain of Echoes. They said voices lingered in the stone forever. Zeus touched the rock, cool, solid, yet alive. Faint murmurs traveled through it, like old songs. He climbed higher, guided by whispers in the wind. Each step felt like an answer. By evening, he stood before a stone circle, ancient, weathered, yet unbroken. Inside, the air shimmered faintly. Remembering storms long past, he stepped inside. Silence fell. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then came the echoes, not thunder, but rolling voices layered deep. They belonged to guardians who had walked with the sky before him. One voice rose above the rest. "You are called, child of light. The bond between earth and sky has chosen you." Zeus bowed his head. "I do not seek greatness," he whispered. "I only wish to walk with the sky as a friend." Warm approval stirred through the circle. "Then you are ready." Light traced old carvings in the stone. Above, clouds crowned the mountain. A single silver bolt descended, not with fury, but with grace. It touched the center of the circle. Zeus stepped closer, hand outstretched. The light curled gently toward him. It wrapped around his palm like silk. A gift, not a command. The bond sealed itself quietly. His heart beat in thunder's rhythm. His breath carried the freshness of rain. His eyes glowed with lightning's reflection. The echoes spoke again. "You are not alone. The storms will listen to your voice." Zeus nodded, though he did not yet understand. He knew only that his journey had begun. The mountain, the echoes, the sky they had embraced him. Night fell as he descended. Stars followed, bright and clear, lighting his path. He was no longer only the child of light. He was becoming something more. At dawn, he returned to the village, his steps steady, his eyes alive with hidden fire. The people asked what he had seen. Zeus only smiled and said, "I listened." They did not understand, but the sky did. It rumbled softly above, carrying a promise. The mountain of echoes had blessed him. The path to his destiny lay open. Part 4. The Mountain of Echoes. The calling grew louder with each season. The clouds no longer whispered, they guided. One evening, while the village celebrated, the air stirred around Zeus. Winds curled like unseen hands, pointing to the mountains. The clouds gathered, not dark but purposeful. Zeus understood. It was an invitation to follow. Before dawn, he set out alone. No bundle, no food, only a staff and trust in the sky. The path rose steep and misty. Stones shifted underfoot, but the clouds never left his sight. By midday, he reached the mountain's foot. Pines sang as wind moved through their branches. The people called it the Mountain of Echoes. They said voices lingered in the stone forever. Zeus touched the rock, cool, solid, yet alive. Faint murmurs traveled through it, like old songs. He climbed higher, guided by whispers in the wind. Each step felt like an answer. By evening, he stood before a stone circle, ancient, weathered, yet unbroken. Inside, the air shimmered faintly, remembering storms long past. He stepped inside. Silence fell. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then came the echoes. Not thunder, but rolling voices layered deep. They belonged to guardians who had walked with the sky before him. One voice rose above the rest. "You are called, child of light. The bond between earth and sky has chosen you." Zeus bowed his head. "I do not seek greatness," he whispered. "I only wish to walk with the sky as a friend." Warm approval stirred through the circle. "Then you are ready." Light traced old carvings in the stone. Above, clouds crowned the mountain. A single silver bolt descended, not with fury, but with grace. It touched the center of the circle. Zeus stepped closer, hand outstretched. The light curled gently toward him. It wrapped around his palm like silk. A gift, not a command. The bond sealed itself quietly. His heart beat in thunder's rhythm. His breath carried the freshness of rain. His eyes glowed with lightning's reflection. The echoes spoke again. "You are not alone. The storms will listen to your voice." Zeus nodded, though he did not yet understand. He knew only that his journey had begun. The mountain, the echoes, the sky, they had embraced him. Night fell as he descended. Stars followed, bright and clear, lighting his path. He was no longer only the child of light. He was becoming something more. At dawn, he returned to the village, his steps steady, his eyes alive with hidden fire. The people asked what he had seen. Zeus only smiled and said, "I listened." They did not understand, but the sky did. It rumbled softly above, carrying a promise. The Mountain of Echoes had blessed him. The path to his destiny lay open. Part 6. The Storm Within. The days after the mountain changed Zeus deeply. He lived as before, helping in the fields and laughing with children. But something inside him had awakened. When he carried water, ripples stirred without wind. When he touched a tree, the leaves shimmered brighter. At night, thunder pulsed faintly in his chest. The bond with the sky could no longer be ignored. It moved like a song waiting to be sung. The people sensed it, though they could not explain. One evening, dark clouds gathered over the valley. The villagers rushed indoors to hide from the storm. But Zeus stood in the open field, waiting. The wind tore through his hair. Lightning flickered across the horizon. Thunder rolled, restless and deep. And inside, the storm awakened. He felt thunder in his bones. The storm above echoed within him. It frightened him at first. The ground trembled with his heartbeat. The air bent to his breath. The clouds shifted with his gaze. He fell to his knees, whispering, "Why me? I am only a boy." The storm did not speak in words. The rain softened, falling gently. The thunder slowed, steady and calm. Zeus closed his eyes and listened. The storm was not against him. It was his reflection. His fear made the winds restless. His calm softened the thunder. His doubt drew clouds. His hope brought light. He rose slowly, rain washing over him. He stretched out his hands to the sky. Lightning flashed, not to strike, but to shine. The storm listened because he listened. This was not about control. It was harmony. He was not master of the storm. He was its companion, its mirror. When the clouds cleared, villagers came out. They saw Zeus, soaked but calm, eyes glowing faintly. They whispered if the storm had bent to him, but Zeus said nothing. The truth was not for words. That night, he dreamed of the sky. He stood upon clouds among endless stars. Storms roared like living beings around him. They called, not with fear, but with welcome. Balance, the dream whispered. Storms are breath, not chaos. As they shape the land, they shape you. Zeus awoke with the word etched in him. Balance. The storm within was not a curse. It was his path. He began to practice in silence. On hilltops, he breathed with the wind. By rivers, he matched his pulse to the water. In storms, he stood unafraid. Thunder rolling through him. The villagers noticed his presence. Fields grew greener after he walked. Children slept soundly to his stories. The elders said, "The storm carries him." Zeus felt no pride. The storm was a teacher, not a crown. He must keep listening always. Only then could he be the guardian the sky saw in him. As the season turned, clouds lingered longer. Zeus lifted his face to the wind. "I am ready," he whispered. The thunder rolled softly in reply. Part 7. The River's Secret. The river had always been a friend to Zeus. As a boy, he played at its edge, skipping stones and laughing as minnows darted away. The water gave life to the fields, songs to the forests, and calm to the people. But now, with the storm alive in him, the river felt different. It no longer sang only of peace. It carried whispers, subtle but insistent. When Zeus knelt to drink, the current seemed to hum against his skin. When he closed his eyes, he almost heard words. One morning, he followed the river upstream, farther than he had ever gone. Mist hung low over the banks, and the air carried a silence both heavy and expectant. The deeper he walked, the stronger the hum became. It was as though the water itself was guiding him. At last, he reached a bend where the river widened into a hidden pool. Here, the surface did not move as quickly. It shone like polished glass, reflecting the clouds above, and at its center, a faint light shimmered. Zeus knelt at the edge, staring. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and alive. The hum grew clearer, wrapping around him like a familiar melody. It was not thunder this time, but something gentler like rain tapping leaves. A voice rose from the depths of the pool, soft yet strong. "Child of the sky, you walk with storms in your chest. But balance lies not only above, it lies here, in the waters below." Zeus held his breath. He wanted to ask who spoke, but no form appeared, only ripples that moved without wind. The water itself was speaking. The voice continued. "The sky may roar, but the river remembers. The thunder shouts, but the stream whispers. Both are needed, or the world falls silent." Zeus touched the water with trembling fingers. It was cool, grounding, steady. He realized then that the storm within him could not exist alone. If thunder gave strength, water gave calm. If lightning carried fire, water offered healing. The river was teaching him balance. It reminded him that power was not only in force, but in stillness, not only in command, but in listening. As he sat by the pool, he thought of his people. The storms had frightened them, but the river had always comforted them. If he was to walk both paths, he would need to be storm and stream. The voice of the river spoke again. "You are not yet whole. The storm burns, but without calm, fire consumes. Drink deeply, and remember." Zeus cupped his hands and lifted the water to his lips. It was cool, smoother than any he had tasted before. As it slid into him, he felt the storm inside quiet, not vanish, but soften. For the first time, he sensed true balance. The roar of thunder and the hush of water braided together like two notes of the same song, and he knew the river had shared its secret with him. When he opened his eyes, the light in the pool dimmed, fading back into the depths. The hum grew fainter, though its memory stayed within him. He bowed his head in gratitude. On his way back to the village, he noticed the world differently. The trees no longer just reached upward, they bent gracefully, touching the river's edge. The wind did not only carry strength, it carried gentleness too. And he himself walked lighter, as though he had set down a weight he did not know he carried. That night, he told no one of the voice or the pool, but the children said his stories carried the sound of rain. And the elders remarked that when he entered a room, the air felt both stronger and calmer. Zeus smiled quietly to himself. The storm within him had found its reflection in the river. Together, they formed a harmony he was only beginning to understand. The river's secret was simple, but eternal. To guard the skies, one must also guard the waters. To carry thunder, one must also carry calm. And Zeus, the boy who listened, had taken his first sip of true wisdom. Beyond the mountains and rivers lay a forest no villager dared to enter. They called it the Whispering Forest, for the trees spoke in tones only the wind could carry. Branches bent, not with storms, but with secrets. Shadows stretched long, though the sun stood high. Zeus had heard the tales since childhood. Children whispered of voices luring travelers away. Elders warned of roots that tangled feet until dawn. But to Zeus, the forest was not fear. It was a mystery calling his name. One evening, as the clouds glowed silver, he felt the pull. The same force that led him to the mountain and river now urged him to the trees. This time, it was not thunder or water, but murmurs rising from the forest. He entered at dawn, the air thick with moss and rain-soaked earth. Birdsong filled the canopy, yet beneath it lay a hush. Each step sank into soil, the path twisting, guiding him deeper. Soon, the whispers came, tones rising and falling like breath. The trees swayed, though no wind moved. Leaves rustled, carrying voices older than stone. Zeus placed his palm on an oak trunk. It pulsed faintly, alive, as though the forest itself had a heart. A voice rose clear. "Child of thunder, why do you enter?" Zeus bowed his head. "I do not come to take. I come to listen." A ripple passed through the trees in approval. The voices spoke as one, layered and ancient. "We are the memory of earth. We have seen storms rise, rivers carve, mountains fall. The world is not only sky and water. It is root, bark, and soil." Zeus felt the truth in their words. The storm gave him strength. The river gave him calm. The forest offered grounding. "Without roots," they whispered, "branches cannot touch the sky. Without soil, rivers cannot flow. Without stillness, storms cannot renew." Visions filled his mind of fields, rivers, clouds, all steadied by earth. "I understand," Zeus whispered. "The sky is freedom. The river is flow. The forest is foundation." The voices rose in harmony through countless leaves. "Take the strength of roots. Carry it with storm and stream. Walk as guardian, not of one, but of all." An acorn dropped before him, glowing faintly. Zeus picked it up, holding its promise in his hands. "Growth begins in silence," the forest whispered. "Guard it well." The voices faded, leaving only birdsong and rustling leaves. A clear path appeared before him. As he left the forest, the acorn warmed in his palm. The storm still pulsed. The river's calm still flowed. But now, roots steadied him. In the village, the people saw the change. His steps were slow but sure, steady as mountains. Children clung to his arms, laughing, unaware of the whispers that followed. The elders nodded, feeling the forest's mark on him. That night, beneath the stars, Zeus held the acorn close. He knew his task was not mastery, but harmony. Balance was not a crown, it was a seed to plant. In that moment, he felt the storm, the river, and the roots as one, all within him, all guiding him toward the destiny ahead. The night after Zeus left the Whispering Forest, the stars burned brighter than ever. They scattered like sparks across the heavens, alive with hidden fire. Zeus lay awake, the acorn in his hand, listening to his breath. He had felt the storm's strength, the river's calm, the forest's grounding. But now, something above him stirred, vast and watching. The air grew still, heavy with silence. The stars blinked, shifting into shapes that shimmered and dissolved. Constellations bent, stretching into new patterns across the sky. Then a voice rose, soft yet endless. Child of thunder, you have listened to earth and water. Now you must hear the sky. Zeus sat up, his heart racing with awe. The stars pulsed like lanterns. Clouds gathered, silver-edged, swirling in slow circles. He knew he was being summoned. The next morning, he climbed the highest ridge he could find. Each step took him closer to the horizon's edge. The air grew thin, cool, sharp against his skin. The sky widened above him, vast and infinite. At the peak, he stood alone. The world stretched beneath his feet. No birds sang, no leaves rustled. Only the quiet hum of wind. The voice of the sky returned. You have held storm, river, and roots. But to carry them, you must understand freedom. Do you seek to command, or do you walk alongside? Zeus gazed at the horizon. Clouds drifted lazily, yet fiercely. Birds soared freely, tracing paths unseen. I do not seek to command, Zeus whispered. I seek to walk with what is greater than me. The sky rumbled, not in anger, but in approval. Then listen and learn. A breeze circled him, playful and free. It grew into a current, spiraling upward, carrying him higher. He trusted, unafraid, surrendering to its pull. Mountains shrank, rivers glimmered like silver threads, forests faded to green patches. The world stretched vast, alive beneath him. The sky spoke again. Freedom is not the absence of ties. It is the dance of stillness and movement, the breath that carries life. Zeus drifted weightless, arms outstretched. The wind carried him as if he had wings. He saw the sky was not empty. It was alive with rhythm and motion. Do you see? Asked the voice. Freedom is not wandering without purpose. It is rising, falling, returning again. Zeus closed his eyes, the truth steady in his chest. The storm gave him fire. The river gave him flow. The forest gave him grounding. The sky gave him freedom. I understand, he whispered. The current slowed, lowering him gently back to stone. His feet touched the ridge, steady and strong. But within, he carried vastness and clarity. The sky's voice faded into the breeze. Guard freedom. It belongs not to you, but to all who breathe beneath the heavens. Zeus bowed his head, thankful. He placed the acorn in his pocket, feeling its weight. Now he carried storm, river, root, and sky. As he descended, the sun painted clouds in gold. The villagers saw him return, their eyes wide with wonder. He looked unchanged, yet they sensed the difference. There was depth in his gaze, space in his breath. That night, he lay under the stars once more. This time, he did not feel watched. He felt embraced, the sky opening a place for him. So I smiled. The journey was not over, but lighter now. For with storm, river, root, and sky within, he no longer carried the world. The world carried him. The journey of Zeus carried him through storm, river, forest, and sky. Each step shaped him. Each lesson grew within him. Yet destiny was not walked alone. It echoed through others. One evening, as twilight fell, Zeus returned to the village square. Children ran laughing through the streets. Fires crackled, golden light warming faces worn with years. The village pulsed with life, steady against the vast world. But Zeus felt something more beneath the joy. Voices carried worry, as well as laughter. Elders spoke of fields losing their strength. Hunters whispered of skies withholding rain. Mothers feared rivers running low each season. The balance of the land was shifting, and the people, knowingly or not, turned to him. Zeus stood quietly in the square. He did not silence their voices. He listened. Every word, every worry, every echo of fear. When silence came, Zeus spoke. The storm gives strength, The river gives calm. The forest gives roots. The sky gives freedom. He lifted the glowing acorn in his hand. But together, they ask for care. Balance is not given, it is kept. The villagers leaned close, eyes reflecting firelight. His words felt old, yet new. Truth remembered, Zeus was not commanding them. He was reminding them. Balance is not the work of one, he said. It is the song of many sharing, protecting, listening. The elders bowed their heads. Children grew quiet, their eyes wide. Even the wind seemed to pause. That night, they gathered with Zeus at the fire. Stories flowed, not of fear, but of memory. Tales of rivers meeting the sea. Songs of storms bringing renewal, not ruin. Whispers of roots strong enough for generations. Each voice joined the circle, threads weaving into cloth. Zeus realized his path was not ahead of them, but among them. Balance was not one man's burden. It was harmony shared by all. In the days that followed, the village changed. Fields were tended with patience, not haste. Hunters took only what was needed, leaving the rest. Children planted seeds. Learning roots hold tomorrow. Zeus walked among them. Not ruler, but warden. His presence reminded them of storm, river, root, sky. But more deeply, it reminded them of themselves. For the echo of balance was in their hearts. At dawn, Zeus stood by the river, listening. Its whisper was not of scarcity, but of flow. At night, he gazed at stars, no longer seeking, but sharing their freedom. And always, he carried the glowing acorn, promise of growth. The people called their home the Village of Echoes, not for mountains bouncing back voices, but because every lesson of balance now echoed in them. Storm, river, root, and sky lived in their ways. Zeus knew more trials would come. The world was vast, full of wonders and shadows. But here, among his people, he felt harmony. And in that stillness, he understood. Balance was not distant destiny. It was here. It was now, alive in every voice, every root, every breath beneath the endless sky. The Village of Echoes thrived, with laughter in the fields and rivers flowing gently. But Zeus felt a pull beyond the mountains, a voice calling from the horizon. It was not discontent, but a deep summons from the world itself. The storm still knew his name, and the stars still watched him closely. Balance was not meant to rest in one place. It had to travel, like rivers that flow, like storms that wander, like skies that stretch. At dusk, he told the elders what stirred in his heart. The land is steady, he said, but others may not know this peace. An elder woman, her voice calm as stone, nodded. You belong not to us alone, but to the balance itself, she said. Zeus looked at the glowing acorn. It pulsed brighter in agreement. That night, he dreamed of deserts, islands, and restless skies. He saw people searching the heavens for hope. At dawn, the whole village gathered in the square. Zeus stood before them, the horizon waiting behind him. I must go, he said softly. The storm asks it of me. The river carries me forward. The forest roots me. The sky shows me more. No one protested. Their silence was trust, not fear. Hunters offered him a cloak, strong and warm. Mothers placed bread and fruit into his satchel. Children pressed smooth stones into his hands. The elders rested their hands on his shoulders. Go with balance, they said. Return when the horizon itself rests. Zeus felt their trust swell in his chest like thunder. When the sun rose high, he walked toward the field's edge. The villagers followed, voices rising behind him. The road stretched wide, endless, and full of possibility. The thunder in his chest was not storm, but rhythm. A drumbeat of purpose carried him forward. The glowing acorn pulsed warmly in his satchel. Ahead lay mountains, rivers, and skies unknown. Each step carried him further from home, closer to destiny. A warden's duty was not to stand still, but to listen, to carry balance where it faltered, to awaken harmony again. The horizon welcomed him like an open hand. I am ready, he whispered to the wind. The storm rumbled in reply. The river hummed below. The forest stretched its roots after him, and the sky spread its arms wide. Zeus stepped forward, answering the call that had always been his. The road stretched endlessly before Zeus, wide and alive with promise. Valleys bloomed with flowers dancing in the wind, painting the earth in bright colors. He crossed deserts where the sun blazed, and winds sang of endurance. In mountains, he found cliff villages, laughter echoing against stone walls. In deep forests, travelers spoke of rivers louder than storms. Everywhere he went, the glowing acorn shone, its light steady. Some saw him as wanderer, others as guardian, but all felt balance follow in his steps. Fields grew greener after his blessing. Rivers ran clearer after his words. Skies softened, giving rain instead of rage. One evening, he reached a vast plain, horizon embracing the heavens. The call was stronger than ever. Not burden, but gift. He sat with the acorn in hand, its glow warm against his skin. Closing his eyes, he listened to the heartbeat of the world. Balance was not a place. It was a song, alive in rivers, storms, winds, and stars. Always moving, always becoming, never still. When he opened his eyes, the stars leaned closer. The horizon shimmered, no longer far, but part of him. Thunder in his chest grew steady, calm as the river. Roots of the forest and freedom of the sky wove together in him. Then the acorn glowed brighter than ever before. Its light spilled across the plain, painting grass in gold. A green sprout emerged, stretching upward, alive. Zeus pressed it into the earth, and soil welcomed its roots. In moments, a small tree stood, leaves silver under starlight. Its branches hummed softly, singing balance back to the world. This was the horizon's gift, not power, but growth. A living symbol of harmony, meant to spread and endure. Zeus placed his hand on the trunk, feeling its pulse. It was not just a tree, it was a promise. Where balance faltered, it could root again. No storm or shadow could silence it completely. Zeus smiled, his heart light and certain. His journey would never end, but he walked with it now. The wind rose, carrying seeds across the plains. They floated unseen, destined to find soil far away. Balance was already spreading without him. The horizon was no longer distant, it was within him. Thunder steady in his chest, peace steady in his heart. He moved on. He was the Thunder Warden, guardian of storm and river, keeper of root and sky, planter of balance where needed most. And the horizon, endless and eternal, walked beside him.